Oh, we started. Here we are. Hello.
I know. We started at 1, and we were just jibber jabbering over here.
Okay. Okay.
Interesting. I screwed up my calendar, and I had a live stream also yesterday, so I'm back less than 24 hours. So hello everybody again. Thanks for joining the Warden's Archive and Writers Gone Feral. Today I'm interviewing Jessica Huckabee, right?
Yes.
Huckabee. I actually I don't know if I saw you on Substack and recognized you. I think that's what it was, because I recognized Jessica from a few years back, probably pre-COVID, when I was really deep into my studies and my practice of the divine feminine. And she ran a women's womb healing circle. I'm not saying that right, but she was had quite a big following on Facebook at the time. I remember I submitted some of her artwork for her poetry that she wrote, and I think you ended up using it. I went back on Facebook and found
Did you find
the message.
Yeah,
and I found the art that I submitted too.
And, because I'm like, I gotta go back and reconnect with those artists, because I remember I had a whole thing for a while where I was connecting with artists.
This was the art that I did, that I submitted. So this was like a photograph that I took, and then I just did some digital artwork around it.
Oh, nice.
I believe it was something around the heart, like heart-centered, or what does it mean to be, like, it was something about feminine in the heart, I remember.
Wow.
So what was cool is, so random, because usually I just get a whole bunch of like just junk emails and I don't recognize them, and I'm just deleting emails. And I came across Jessica's email, and I did not recognize anything about the email, but I opened it and started reading it. That's the weirdest thing. And I'm reading it, and it's Jessica saying, "Hey, I'm closing down this newsletter. I'm starting to write fantasy now." And I was like, "Girl," I wrote her back, and I'm like, "You write fantasy? So do I. Are you on Substack? Blah, blah, blah." And then I got her on Substack, and I started telling all of you guys about her. And sure enough, I think now you're like already over 100 subscribers. And she just jumped right in.
170 or so.
I know.
Largely because of you posting me. I don't know, you shared me with your group, and you're like, "Hey, subscribe to this gal," I think.
I know she only had like 20 subscribers, but what I really like is you just jumped right into, you kind of jumped right in and made Substack your community, and I see you posting every day and working it. So that is so fun to have you here. Thank you for joining me today. I am really, of all the live streams I've done, I'm most excited about this one, because there's a lot of roots to who I am and what we're about to talk about, and why some people kind of wonder why I'm such a super creator. And it really comes from these roots, and from healing through the divine feminine and connecting with Mother Earth. So we are here today to talk about, what if Mother Earth was sentient? Spoiler alert, I already know she is.
Yeah, me too. So it's a big what if, but
and I'm sure Jessica does too. Some of us have had I myself have had some really profound connections with Mother Earth, who has downloaded some wisdom inside of me that is now part of my DNA structure. And it's going to be fun to have this discussion, because I know with what Jessica's writing, it's interesting. So Jessica right now is working on a book, I believe, which she's calling like eco fantasy. What was the other term you used?
Well, okay. I'm working on a bunch of different books in a particular idea of the world of future Earth called Eltaria. Okay. So maybe I would call it the Eltarian Chronicles or something like that. So there's multiple books that are in the works. And what I'm most excited about right now is what I'm calling fractal fiction. So what that is it's an interactive, immersive experience with readers, in which the story can take various pathways, depending on what readers are interested in. So it's kind of like choose your
Kind
own
of like a
adventure.
choose your own adventure.
Exactly.
I love it. I love
But
it.
yeah.
Okay, so you also said fractal too, which is a word that I like to use often over frequency, because my world, Ethara, the magic system is often like our frequency system, which is something that if any of you have ever done like had a mushroom journey or an LSD journey or a journey like that where you're taking medicine to specifically melt down the veil, and really what happens is you end up witnessing how things are animated around you, and it's called like fractal or lattices or blooming mandalas. You visually can see these things like walls looking like they're breathing, and the rocks look like, you know, there's movement in there, and the trees somehow have this sort of geometry to it. And so I use those words a lot. So it's cool that you are using it fractal too, because it also is like this, it can go in many directions.
Right. Well, it's like a tree, right? So the tree has the trunk, which is what holds it kind of all together. And then the branches branch out in lots of different directions, and the roots branch out in lots of different directions. And so, you know, just because you're on a branch over here and someone else is on a branch over here doesn't mean you're not in the same tree, right? So I could have a storyline that goes way over here and another storyline that goes way over here. And how can they be in the same book unless it's a fractal book where
yeah. No, that's very interesting.
yeah.
And I'm kind of doing something similar, but it's not a choose your own adventure. But I wanted people to start to get to know me as an author, my style, you know, how I write slow burn, you know, what Ethara, my world, is like. And so I started what I call the chapels to my cathedral. So I have the little side stories that take place in Ethara and explain characters. And yeah, so a little bit different but similar. And by the way, I just wanted to say hi to some people who came on. My mom's here, so I did say hi, Mom. I love it when my mom comes on. December, Born Fiction. I think I haven't seen you on my live yet. Hello, welcome. We've got some new faces here. Hey, Dave, and we got some of my regulars. Thanks for showing up today, guys. I appreciate it. No bras, by the way. That's the rule. The Warden's Archive. If you are a woman right now and you're wearing a bra, take it off. Let the boobies hang. What am I drinking today? This is dangerous. I did quit coffee, but it's my birthday tomorrow, and this is my favorite. This is like my favorite coffee in the world, and I have this. It's Stumptown. Or I have this saying that if somebody near you dies, this is more effective than the chest compressions. Just open their mouth, pour this in.
I should bring some of that to work.
Boom. So I got it mixed here with a little, and I bet you're gonna see throughout the hour me go from 0 to 150 really fast, because yeah, like it's crazy, and I haven't had it in a long time. I asked my husband to go to Sprouts and pick me up some, and he's such a good man. He did. So here we are. That's it. Take your bras off. We're gonna dive right in here. So Mother Earth. Let's start before we jump into your book. Let me just like let you and I riff about Mother Earth. I want to hear like about, you know, how you first connected, and you know, I want to hear your relationship, what your relationship is like with sentient Mother Earth, because I have a feeling you have one.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that today because, you know, coming up to this live, for me, it's, I don't know if you've ever heard the term deep ecology.
I have not. Go on.
I encountered a person and a book way back in my 20s that introduced me to the idea of deep ecology, which is the idea that the systems of biology are interconnected, and that the planet is this one big biological system that we're all part of. We're a living being. I'm a living being. You're a living being. Humanity is a collection of similar living beings. All living beings are part of this greater living being of the earth. And so just like my body and your body is made up of a collection of various living beings, we call them cells, microorganisms, that all have varying functions and that are important. You and I are cells in the living being of the earth. And your cat or my dog. I don't have a dog. I'm just hypothetically saying the peach tree in my yard, the ants that try to take over my house in the summer, and in the winter, at different times. I don't know when, but their system is a mystery to me. But everything on here is part of the living being of the earth. And so that's deep ecology. We're all interconnected. And just like if a cell in your body, a microorganism in your body or my body, started to overgrow and overconsume the other cells, we might call it a cancer or a viral infection or a bacterial infection, and it would make the body sick. I've felt for quite some time that humanity is becoming more and more like an organism that is overgrowing its proper place in the in the greater organism of the planet, and that the planet's immune system would eventually be doing things to try to remedy this overgrowth and restore balance in its body, just like my immune system or your immune system. We'd have a fever and like that. And symptoms like that to heal ourselves, right? And that's the premise of my all the books and things that I'm writing, is that there was a time when the planetary immune system activated and a lot of people died. And that's why I call it post-apocalyptic, but it's not like your normal post-apocalyptic things, right? The books and stories that you typically read.
Right. No, it's not like a dystopian type of
because
atmosphere.
Because what happened is that before the big fever, the planetary intelligence system, the mycelial crystal network, which is in my books and my world is the nervous system of the planet, was trying to influence humanity towards greater balance. So that was like the first attempt to heal this overgrowth, right? It's to try and
it's so interesting how it reflects a lot of truth, because those who are connected to Earth can feel through the ley lines. There's always this sort of upgrade of frequency and vibrational energy, like soaring through it, like trying to influence the life around it. And then what happens, we get like more and more. We had like 5G networks, and now we have things. I drive around the city, they look like trees, but they're just these frequency blasting man-made, everything just trying to bombard the human system, putting rubber on our shoes, separating us from Earth. So what was interesting is, I would say pre-2017, most of my life I lived in a real masculine template, like hyper masculine. Like my vulnerability was shut off. I felt a lot of shame about being a woman. I felt a lot of shame about my own body as a woman. And 2017 was my wake-up call. When I had even learned about the divine feminine, or even had some kind of I had an education basically that was showing me the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy. And when somebody broke it down into energy for me, it just clicked. It really clicked. So I had learned, I was learning some tools, how to be vulnerable, and why that was important, how to receive, how to actually be on the receiving end of stuff. And so, you know, when you're learning new energies, of course, it's hit and miss. Sometimes it works out really great, and other times not so much. It's kind of a bit of a test. In my early 30s, though, I went through a like a vegan phase where I went all vegan, and at the time I was training martial arts. I was extremely physically active, and I in about 8 months, it took about 8 months for me to get a very serious protein deficiency. I got really sick. I had lots of hair falling out. I couldn't concentrate very much. It was pretty bad. So I had to get off the vegan diet. But what never left was the guilt. I always had this guilt because I kept thinking that was the right way to be. And the guilt stayed with me for a long time. So it was right around like 2018, I would say, I was really like over it. I was like, man, I am over it. And I want to know what Mother Earth has to say about it. So I went out in my yard, I sat down, I brought my favorite crystals. I laid down, I took some deep breaths, and I just imagined my womb growing roots down into earth and connecting with Mother Earth's womb. And instantly, it didn't take long before I had a connection. And I ended up journaling that night things that changed me forever that I was hearing in this meditation. And it also brought me so much further into what divine feminine really meant and what being a mother really meant. And one of those things that she would say was like, well, I'm not a mother with trauma, and everything I create, all this life, all this abundance, like you were saying, your peach tree, like you look at trees, you look at a field, even in the desert where you think there's not a lot of life in the desert, there's tons of animals and shrubs and different types of trees. And I mean, it's everywhere. Mother Earth is absolutely abundant. And when it comes to her people, it's one of the things like, why hasn't, because I've thought about that too. Why hasn't Mother Earth just like, had a fever and burned all of us off if there's global weather crises and stuff, like because of how and the ocean's getting polluted. And I mean, we're just not good stewards of our world here. Why hasn't it happened yet? And her answer was like, well, because I love you guys. I love you. And you might be, teenagers destroying the planet, but I'm a sentient goddess. I'm a literal sentient goddess, which means I create in real time, like something that your human mind probably can't understand. But if you think God as being that all creator, it's the same with me. Obviously, I'm creating here. This is like Earth, and it's blooming with life everywhere. And that's, to me, she was giving me this picture, like this download of what it looked like to be Mother Earth. So she's like, it's beyond human capacity to think. Like, our ego thinks that we're destroying something that's been here longer than all of us. Like, she's like, I'm going to continue to live on. Like, I have my space carved out in this universe, and I'm not going anywhere. That was her first thing that she said. Second, she was like, we were talking about eating. I was talking about the food, like eating animals. And one of the things she said too is she's like, the thing about it is that the way we harvest a lot of the meat is pretty gruesome. But she's like, there's animals who create a lot of like she was showing me rabbits and pigs and fish and things that are like in abundance, that are like smaller. She was like, there's nothing wrong with eating meat. Like, she was telling me that the whole vegan guilt thing was, not a real thing. But she's like, if you wanted to apply to your life something a little more simple for the body, like chicken eggs, fish, things like that, they're just booming, and they're smaller amounts. They're, and they're also animals that just create like abundantly, is a little bit easier than a whole cow and a calf, and kind of causing that trauma and what we see in the industry. And I thought that was really interesting too. And it goes on, like she wasn't done. She was giving me so much, but I'm gonna like let what I just said breathe and kind of let you take over from there, because I'm curious what's coming to you right now.
Well, I've had a similar journey with veganism, funny enough. Although mine lasted a little bit longer. I think my body could, it was more, my body was okay with being vegan for like 11 years, but then it was very cleansing, but then I started to get depleted as well, not from the protein, but from my iron stores, like I shared with you before we started
Oh
the live.
yeah.
And so I've, had a similar feeling that, and I never did it did veganism out of any kind of guilt. I was trying to be healthier. And I think growing up with the typical American diet had created some health issues with me, and that the veganism, and actually I was kind of maybe 70% fruitarian for a period of time, that really helped my body to clear out some of the residue from being raised on a diet that didn't really work for my body. And so, but then I needed to replenish with more rich nutrient sources. And now, we talked about, perimenopause and menopause, my metabolism changing, I need to have higher protein intake than I did back then, as well as for the iron from that. But also, what was coming up for me around what you were talking about Mother Earth, transmitting this wisdom for you, that was a big part of my practice, is a big part of my practice, and has been for a long time, is just connecting to our direct connection to Mother Earth, and through our wombs. That was what I taught all those years, and I'm curious if that was some influence from there, but I wasn't the only one teaching that. I certainly learned from teachers myself of, connecting to Mother Earth and the generative life force, which also I had learned to connect with early on for my creativity, comes from that same place. And the messages and the wisdom that we get when we connect there, that was what was coming through with my poetry, with my womb-centered healing work. All of that was always this direct connection to what Mother Earth was guiding me towards. And this is the same kind of thing that's happening in my stories. Not only are my fiction fractal stories talking about this type of thing happening for the characters in the stories, but it's also what's happening for me in my life. Are these stories are coming through me from Mother Earth as like a parable message for people, to, instead of like trying to teach it directly, instead of saying, hey everybody,
Yeah, it makes sense.
connect,
it makes sense
Mother Earth. Instead, I'm saying, hey, everybody, check out my cool fiction fractal.
Right. I talk about this all the time. It's like nobody wants, we don't want nonfiction anymore. I feel like for 2 decades, it was like all this self-improvement and we have to read this. It's something about nonfiction is like somebody's wisdom already metabolized. But when it's fiction, we get to like live through the protagonist. We get to live the experience. We get to feel it like in our bones and metabolize the wisdom through this reader experience. And it's really one of the main reasons I switched from nonfiction. And last year I published my first nonfiction book, and then suddenly I just pivoted 180 degrees and went in a different direction. And mostly also because I had to be real with the fact that I've always loved fantasy. I loved reading fantasy. I love D&D. I love Renaissance Fair. I love horses. I love unicorns. Like, I'm just a fantasy nut. And I always that was not a cool part of myself. There was literally a part of myself where I was like, that's not cool. You need to grow up. Like, don't be a part of that. Like, go pick your money books at the bookstore and learn how to, invest in bullshit like that. And there was a part of me that was like, no, I'm dying. Give me some fantasy. And so a lot of that is like a volcano, that's just kind of erupted. Like, finally I accepted this part of myself, loved this part of myself, embraced this part of myself. And I'm like, yeah, we're doing this. We're doing fantasy. And there's so many there's so much thesis and wisdom that I have that I can embed into the stories as well. So I love that you're really on the same path there. That's beautiful.
Well, it for me, it's like I want to imagine, like, and what I often talked about in when I was, doing holistic healing work through the womb centered healing temple is the power of the imagination for our growth and transformation, right? If we're constantly imagining the worst case scenario, that sets off all kinds of biochemical reactions. Our body goes into chronic trauma response, and cortisol levels spike and all this. Whereas the same is true if I'm imagining the best case scenario, right? And so for me, dealing with the stress of living in the world as it is today, I work in healthcare in California, and my husband works in mental health in California, and we're dealing
oh boy
with people every day who are suffering tremendously because of the really insufficient systems that are set up that cause that kind of suffering. And we're trying to be helpful as much as we can, and it's very therapeutic for me to imagine something greater than myself, like Mother Earth, right, having a potent influence on the changes that I'd like to see happen in humanity, because I feel very small, and I have my ideas, but I don't feel like anybody will listen to them.
Yeah, with Mother Earth, you're definitely not small. She
Exactly.
I feel like that was going to bring me to this one story. I was doing a women's circle here when I had a yurt in my backyard. Occasionally, I'd do one, and this was a summer solstice event that I was doing, and I specifically wanted just biological women, and I put that out there on the meetup because we were going to strip naked. Part of the ceremony was like stripping naked and jumping in the pool. So it's Vegas. And I should have locked my gate, but I didn't lock my gate. And we had an individual who came in who clearly was not born female. Maybe had all the surgeries and everything. And I had already kind of opened, you know what this is like too when you're opening a circle. Like I opened the portal and she was there. And I just I was already into it. I was already like dropped in and in my space. And I held a beautiful circle, and it went like absolutely magical. And at the end, I look back on it and kind of have some regrets for not making more of a connection with this individual, because she was like profoundly, like it was amazing for her and everything. And I had another couple individuals there that were like, okay, yeah, whatever, it happens. I talked to them, and then when I talked to Mother Earth, she was like, I sent that individual to you. I sent that individual to you because I'm tired of this. Like, if anybody wants to be a part of the divine feminine, they get to be a part of the divine feminine. You don't get to decide that. And it was very humbling. It was very humbling because she was sent here by Mother Earth. I was holding the circle. I had to just do it. And from there on out, it was like, because Mother Earth she's a mother of all. So it doesn't matter if you want to go do punk rock or get tattoos or be the Prince of Darkness, or it doesn't matter. Like, she loves all of her children. She just and that was the message she kept trying to drive home for me, was like, I love all of you. And that's why you're sitting on this cloud of grace right now, and it's not volcanoes erupting everywhere and you're all frying, because I still love all of you.
Well, that reminds me, I used to run these in-person womb circles, red tent womb circles. And I was very clear that they were all gender, that all genders were welcome, because I've received similar messages from Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And some of the most profound, in fact, I remember this one profound circle where this man who came fairly regularly to these circles, he opened up about the suffering that his mother experienced all through his childhood. And we had this profound connection with his mother, who was deceased. and invited his mother into the circle and had this whole healing thing. And all the other people, I think he was the only male gendered person in the circle, but all the other people were totally, it was, uh, somebody's saying it was them in the comment. I'm not sure it was, but
I do want to talk about red tent. I red tent like healed so much shame. I was carrying shame around my period like my entire life. My entire life. My first red tent was an all gender, and it was probably, half men, half women. We were sitting by the river, and the first thing the facilitator did was ask everybody, how did you find out? Why don't you share? How did you find out about women bleeding? And the men were answering, and even the women, and almost all of the stories they had to tell were around shame, were around that there was something wrong with it. And right then and there, like we just right there at that, after that whole share, everybody in that circle like took power back from it, like reframed the whole story, like changed it up. It was like, no way, you know why we bleed? We bleed because we create life. And that blood itself is nurturing a fetus, which is exactly like, it has everything in it to feed life and to bring life onto earth. So we have been, this whole programming around the shame of it was really like, I don't know, it was red tent to me. I tried to start some red tents here in Vegas and they didn't really take off. Vegas is weird like that, but God, powerful. Red tents are one of the most powerful things. Women coming together, celebrating their bleeds. One of the things I ended up doing a few years ago was when my niece first got her first bleed, we threw her a ceremony. We threw her like a party. We braided her hair. We put flowers in her hair. She sat in the middle of a circle and wept and cried. It was really, she's 11 years old, and this is a lot. And then, she had her moment, and we all celebrated with her, and we all shared when we started, and just had this beautiful. I decorated the whole attic like in red scarves. And then when we were done, we went downstairs and we had all this red food, and we danced, we had music, and we were eating like red velvet cake. And I was like, that's how every girl should come into her bleed. Like, it should be a celebration. And sure enough, I've been hearing now that young girls are having what's called period parties. And like the guys at first are like, what? And then they're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like at first they want to be grossed out, and then they like hear more about it and they're like, okay, actually that's pretty cool.
yeah, that was a big part of the womb-centered healing work that I did. But you know what? It's interesting because what I noticed all those years doing that is that when I would speak to it directly, like even mentioning the word womb or mentioning, menstrual, anything, a lot of people's eyes just glaze over because the depth of the shame that programmed into us about all of this is so much, right? It's just so that people's nervous systems sort of check out, start to talk about it. And so what I'm doing with all that now is, like, one of the characters in my world is a womb healing practitioner, but those stories are going to be secret stories, and they'll be available for people who want to learn more about that. And I haven't written it very much, but I haven't quite decided how I'm going to share that, but that's going to be like sneaking in from the side, I think, because that's one of the main things that I don't want to, like, I want to find a way to tell those stories that it becomes available to more people. Because what I found when I came at it direct, which I have the capacity to do, come at it direct, and whole
and me too. I do that too. I come at it direct.
Disappear,
Yeah, and I do because I'm excited. I do because at one point it was shameful and gross for me. And it's still, when I meet guys or even other women who still feel it's gross, it all comes from where they learned about it and the shame that programming attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to take women who have gone through their womb centered healing to like put it out there in a different way, to change the story, to change the narrative.
Right.
One thing I want to share with people, and I've tried to share this before, but hopefully I can articulate it a little better today, is me going through my womb centered healing is why I'm a super creator today.
Mm-hmm.
Because before, if I was stuck in my masculine, it wasn't an energy that I'm born to be with. That's all I can say. Women have wombs that create life. And when you have blockage, when you're blocked, or you're too much in your head, or you're too much in a masculine energy, which is like a pushing, forcing, moving every day, and you're not, I would say feminine energy is more secular. So we have cycles, we have time, Anyway, I want to go back to what I was saying, because if I go down the rabbit hole of feminine energy, we're going to be here for a long time. By me healing a lot of that, I've just been able to come into a place where I call it like super creator, just like Mother Earth. She shows us every day, and everything that you see. It was part of the transmission that I got going back to that same day that I connected on Earth. She had said, every time you see a beautiful sunset, every time you stop and you look at a field with flowers and you see something that makes you gasp, she loves it. She collects it like she wants your oohs and ahs. That's her whole thing about every creation that you see, every landscape, every tree, every bird, every animal, everything that your eye goes to and you gasp. That is like you're giving gold to Mother Earth. She was showing me that as her favorite thing. She just loves to collect all of your oohs and ahs. So one of the most beautiful things in that transmission, that when I connected with her,
you feel it, like when you look. I grow roses in the garden too, not just peaches.
Mm-hmm.
The peaches definitely do it to me, right? When you're carrying that peach that you can't hold too tight, or it's gonna just like burst all over your head. But also like the roses, when the roses open up and it's just this intricate fractal of beauty right there, and then the aroma. I mean, there's just so much beauty, and it's true that appreciation of beauty, for me, that's a spiritual experience. That's religion. That's worship, right? These terms that we've learned in different contexts. For me, walking out into the garden and seeing the roses blooming, seeing the dahlias blooming. I planted dahlias for the first time too, and dahlias are just that. Beauty, they don't have a smell, they're just pure.
Flowers are the perfect symbolism to feminine energy, because they just bloom and they just are, and they just sit there in the sun and they do nothing, and the bees come to them, the butterflies come to them, the sunshine comes to them, everybody walks by and ooh, ah, and puts their nose right into that flower. Yeah. It's like the absolute perfect symbolism of feminine energy.
Yeah.
And December said something in here too about having mother issues, and maybe there's challenges with Mother Earth, and that would also coordinate with feeling shame or disgust around menstrual periods. That's absolutely true. It is anything that has to do with, and that's probably a reason why you like following me. I seem to be a nice bridge that it makes a lot of men feel safe exploring what it feels like to be safe in the feminine. But yeah, mother issues absolutely create blocks to access that. And what's nice is when you heal it, you find yourself in a whole other level, like leveling up. I like to, especially when I'm talking to guys, I like to compare it to video games, because guys always have this thing about video games and they're like leveling up. So there's a way to like remove energy blocks out of your body that stem back from like childhood trauma, that have you level up in your creativity and writing. So yeah, it is pretty deep. So take a deep breath. And it's
well, if you think about it, for me, I discovered the connection between my creativity and my sexual energy early on. Like I talked about, I got it that that's where my poetry was coming from. I would have this feeling of something rising up from down in the womb area through my body, a feeling, a sensation, uh, something that I needed to find words for. And that's how my poetry would come out. And I led, I've led lots of writing circles where we would do that type of a meditation of connecting with that energy and allowing it to rise up and become words and creativity. It can become art as well, any kind of creativity. So that sexual energy for anyone of any gender is about creating something new, whether it's creating a baby or creating something else, right? So when we learn to allow that energy to flow in more varied ways, that it's not just only relegated to our sex life, right? But that creative energy can flow in lots of different ways. It's very liberating. And so I think that
it is. It's powerful.
Right. And that makes perfect sense to me about how you, Elle, found your super creator capacities as you embraced and owned and embodied your sexual energy through embracing everything going on in your female body. And the menstrual cycle is a fundamental part of female sexuality. And there's no denying it. It's just biologically what is so. And all parts of it. And so when we have shame or disgust about one aspect of female sexuality, that limits our ability to fully connect with female sexuality. So this is for men as well. I feel that if men are struggling to connect with women, a big part of regaining that ability to connect is to embrace all parts of the feminine, not only in women, but in themselves as well. And boy, you could get me going on this.
I know, me too. I'm feeling the engine like behind my eye. I get all vibrating. It's like that's why I was so excited about this, because typically we're talking about writing and writing process and fantasy and mythical creatures, which I absolutely love. But this is like the whole roots of why I'm here today and why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's why I have this home. It's why I have my mate, and why we got married last year on our 8-year anniversary. I was following a call to come to Las Vegas. I lived in Portland. I had gone through a divorce. Like all of a sudden I was doing meditations and I was going on these retreats and learning about womb healing. And I just felt like I needed to come here. And I came here, and a month later I met Sal. And a year after that, we wanted to move in together. We had no money. Like we didn't have any savings or anything. And I told him, I said, I think we need to buy a house. Like, I really feel like we need to buy a house. I have a feeling that rent's going to go up and it just ain't going to be the same. And I kind of knew after a year of dating him, like, we're going to be together for a long time. This guy's a gem. He's an absolute gem. And the shoes never dropped in a whole year. Wow. It was like a dating fantasy. It was like everything I ever wanted. And again, I was practicing this divine feminine and receiving and allowing myself to receive. And him and I don't talk about this often, because I'm somebody who does not mess with this unless it absolutely needs to happen. But we did sex magic. It was like the first time I had known about sex magic. I didn't really study it, but in the retreats and stuff, we'd heard about it. And I was like, okay, I kind of knew what to do. Him and I needed a home. And we did our sex magic. It was beautiful. It was absolutely, we nailed it. We did such a good job. And in 60 days from our sex magic, we closed on a home. It literally had all green lights. There was no red lights. We got approved for the house. We got a grant from the state of Nevada that helped a down payment on the house. We found our home. We closed on it in 60 days. We had zero. I don't know a single person who buys a house who doesn't have, paperwork they have to come up with, or this interruption or that interruption. No, for us, it was bam, bing, boom, bam, boom. There's your house. We moved in. And when we moved in, when we got our keys, when we went to escrow, they handed us a check for $8,000 because they were over in escrow. So we moved in. We actually had money to we had nothing. Both of us were we didn't have pots or pans or towels or anything. So then we got some fun. That is I don't think I would have been able to do anything like that had I not gone through, the healing that I'd gone through, and was able to hold, him, hold space and kind of show him this is how we're going to do it. And yeah, it's not something, like I said, I know people who think that they can do sex magic and bring in all the things. It has to be something that you and your partner are very highly resonant around. You have the resonance, both of you, because a lot of times it's it might just be my thing and not really his. It has to be both. You both have to kind of match energy. So not something I mess with, but I like to share that story because
it's really powerful. That's creative energy. And yeah, I don't know what to say about
because
that.
you're taking exactly what you were saying. I guess the point is you're taking what you want. You're trying to manifest XYZ, and you're attaching it to your sexual energy. You don't have to have a partner to do it, but you have to do it in a very sacred way. Mm-hmm. You set up the space. You create the space. You have what it is that you're trying to create, and you're feeling it as if it's already exists, and you are seeing it happen, and you're seeing it unfolding while you're in the process of building up that sexual energy. And then when you have your release, you're sending it out there. And then one of the most important things to do afterwards is you got to let it go. It's just going to happen. You don't obsess about it. You don't need to do manifestation practices the next day and the day after that and revisit your altar, 10 times a week to pray for your house. You do one ceremony and then you're boom, now it's going to happen. I just got to wait. Now it's going to unfold, and I'm moving on with my life and creating other things.
Right.
And boom.
Well, and when you start to integrate that type of flow of your creative energy into your life, that kind of thing becomes very ordinary too. and that it doesn't have to be for me, I don't do very big elaborate rituals anymore. Everything is a ritual. Everything has intention. Making the peach sauce, I'm cutting up the peaches, I'm cutting out the moldy parts, shaving away the bad parts, putting the good parts in the pot, cutting up.
That's a really good point too.
Everything that we do with intention. And so for me, my sexual connections with my husband are automatically in that flow.
Yep.
Because I'm, and he is, we are always having our intentions for our life to go in the direction that's the healthiest direction for us. Yep. And for our needs to be met in various ways. And sometimes, buying a house, I did do a ritual around that, not a sex magic ritual, but a candle ritual, right? Around where I wrote things on the candle and burned the candle and got in the cold bath afterwards and all this stuff. And then, of course, like you said, I let it go. And, a few months later, we were moving into our house. And so, so there can be times where that kind of ritual energy, where you're putting a little bit more intention into it. You're using some tools, whether it's fire or actual, sexuality or water or whatever you're using. And then for me, my magic is very ordinary and integrated at this point into everything that I'm doing. So when I'm at work I work at a nursing home and I am a physical therapy assistant. I am helping people to get up and walk again after they've had an illness or an injury that has incapacitated them. and or I may be supporting them through the last phase of their life before they transition out of this life. And that's a very sacred time to be with somebody. But I don't need to be lighting candles. And I mean, most people would just be like, oh my God, who is this crazy woman if I tried to do any of that? This is a medical facility. I show up in my scrubs, right? I show up in my scrubs.
Yeah.
I put my name tag on.
Yeah.
I have my ritual. I get there. I put my gate belts in one pocket. I put my Sani wipes in another pocket. I have my items that are part of my medical, right?
What you just described is like, is what happens when you start on this journey, you start on your healing journey, you do rely on a lot of external things, or you think you rely on a lot of external things to kind of get you over the bridge. And then as you integrate, the more that you integrate, the more that you cross a bridge on the other side and find that life is very ordinary, and you feel very grounded in ordinary life again, because it's like, now I'm settled in this purpose. You feel whole and complete. And so ordinary is beautiful. Like, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. It's not the other way around. So sometimes all those spiritual practices kind of end up being a little goofy. Like, I would get more spiritual practice helping you harvest peaches and canning peaches and doing stuff with peaches. It's very like tangible. We're being very present. We get this time where we're harvesting something from the earth, and we get to, like, just in that tangible action, be showing gratitude towards Mother Earth. To me, there's way more spirituality in that ordinary, in those ordinary actions than like lighting the candle and having an altar. And I think I see like there is a progression where you kind of go through this arc.
Right. Years ago,
full circle.
That altar was essential for me. And having that lit candle and that incense and that time in front of the altar and all of that was essential. And then as I integrated those spiritual principles and values into my life and aligned my whole life and organized my life around them, now it's just what's part of my life. And but I'm glad you brought that up because, we brought that up. It's all come up. Because I've just been writing about so in my world of Altaria, back to my fiction fractal, right? In my world of Altaria, we've got the Altarians, which are the people that survived the apocalypse and from before the apocalypse, who were influenced by Mother Earth's nervous system and integrated with Mother Earth's nervous system. And they've learned a whole new language. They've learned nonviolent conflict resolution. They're resolving generational trauma, and they're devoted to healing all of humanity and the planet into a more harmonious ecological system again, restoring balance to Mother Earth's whole body, which we're all part of, right? So these are the Altarians. Well, there's also people who have survived the apocalypse, but they're still sick with what we're calling serpotence in the stories, which if you break that down linguistically, it means overpower. Like ser is over, potence is power. So they're still trying to assert through violent domination human what's the word? Human
control and siphoning of energy,
human supremacy, and the right to exactly all those things: control, harvest, siphon, extract, the extractive culture, right? So without regard to the balance of life and the give and take, and feeling, not having any connection to needing to give as much as they take, and blah, blah, blah. And so they're called the serpotenti, okay? And by the Altarians, they call themselves the people. They think they're the only pure humans left and that everybody else is mushroom zombies, and it's a horror show.
This sounds too real.
And so I've been writing about them, and they have this whole religion where they actually reject all ancient earth religions, right? And there's I wrote this whole ceremony where they're called to the front of the church, where the symbol for their church is this hand that's in the dark. It's a shadow shaped of a hand with this light shining from behind it. And it's reaching for the light, right? And it's this whole ascension based spirituality where we're trying to ascend somewhere, right? And a lot of spirituality is ascension based, even a lot of new age spirituality, a lot of religious spirituality is talking about ascending, transcending, going away from the body, away from the earth.
And right. I think that's like the opposite of what we need to do.
Exactly.
That's so funny. It's so funny. Like the more you get into spirituality and the more you connect to Mother Earth, the more you're like, yeah, you know what? If we separate from our bodies, we're separating from the literal intelligence and the godlike instrument that we were given, because this creates life. We are creators naturally. And the more the energy flows through us, the more the creation comes out as though we got a magical wand and we're just blasting it into the world. And anyway, so it's not magic, it's healing.
Well, it's biology. It's biology. If you look at the neuroscience behind, like what I was talking about, when you imagine that things are going to work out, it creates a biological reaction that has you more grounded, more centered, more able to see all the different aspects of whatever problem you're dealing with and to address them, and things are more likely to work out. If you're catastrophizing, I have to deal with this with my patients all the time. Catastrophization in neuroscience creates chronic pain. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you're in chronic pain, you cannot heal. There's biochemistry that happens when you're catastrophizing that prevents the natural biological healing.
Oh, it just inflames your body. You're just
everything's inflamed. And so what we imagine, and so this is how the stories that I'm writing are healing for me. Of course, now I'm also like writing how are the Altarians who are doing this whole healing process going to deal with the fact that these serpentine people, they're trying to kill them off through violent domination and go around and, sacking whole cities and stuff. But the Altarians are like nonviolent conflict resolution. We're not going to go kill them. We're going to try to heal them. How do we heal them? So one of my main characters is traveling back through time using plant roots and the memory that's in the earth. And in the mycelial network, she's traveling through time and doing things like one of the episodes I'm going to write, little spoiler alert, if anyone, I'm super stoked because a lot of the patients I work with, a lot of their illnesses are because they're smokers, right? So my little fantasy that I have that's going to be in my story is she takes a Nicotiana plant in the future, and plants in the future have evolved to be, especially medicinal herbs and stuff, and plants have evolved
high frequency,
and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff,
healing stuff. I love that.
And like it's scary, like there's these giant cactuses that like move around and like do stuff, anyway.
Ooh, this eco fantasy. I'm hooked.
Anyway, so the Nicotiana in the future is like, what it does is that it cures people of addiction to nicotine. So she makes this like preparation from the future Nicotiana and takes it back in time and seeds it into the tobacco plantations so that it cures people. They smoke their cigarettes. They don't like
best spoiler alert.
That's a big spoiler alert, right?
Like that is the hook. Like I love that. And that's awesome. Roger was saying she's going to
run into trouble, and that's where the story lies, because she'll run it. There'll be trouble.
Of course,
it's not just happen, but that's the premise. That's her theory that's how it's going to happen. She's going to go and heal all these people of generational trauma by reversing the massive nicotine. Oh,
I love that. There was a note over here about being disconnected from news. I know myself. I've been disconnected from news for a long time. And the reason why is because news, just like all of us who are writers, is a narrative. It's somebody else's narrative, and it's usually people with money who want to manipulate masses. And that's not you. You don't have to agree with me. You can be someone who watches news. But I started studying astrology, and you guys have heard me mention astrology before on this show. I guess I can call the podcast a show, I guess. And if you study it, it's basically like, energies that we're born into. It's like a map, like an energetic map that has quite a big spectrum. But historically, you can really match up what happens in history with what's happening with the planets. And one thing's all universally true is that there's no catastrophe that takes everybody out, because we're all here to have a human experience. And some people are going to have experiences where they're homeless, and some people are going to be wealthy, and some people are going to be middle class, and some people's lives are going to be up and down, and some people are going to have 10 careers, and some people are going to have one. And it always, all throughout history, as long as humans have been here, even when cities were taken out, even when countries were taken out, there was always people's houses that didn't get taken out, people's careers in business that didn't go away. Some people in very poor economic times actually became very wealthy, and some people in great economic times lost everything. So when you take that wisdom and internalize it, there's no fear anymore. Because if you're gonna watch something or hear another narrative and embed that fear into your life, then it's like, oh my gosh, we're destroying the earth, everything's going to shit, we're all and then your experiences every day are colored in that frame. Like, I'm a photographer and I use different lenses, and that's a different lens that you put on. For me, I know that no matter what happens right now, there's always going to be people in different places energetically. Does that make sense? Does that make any sense at all? Okay. Because I trying to find my voice around that has been difficult, but it's true. It's absolutely true. And the best place that you can be is in a place where, you're healed, grounded, connected, and not living out of fear. When we live out of fear, I don't want to use the word like low vibrational or low frequency, because I feel like that's so cliche. But
well, it's also part of the ascension narrative,
right? It is.
The high
it is
vibration and
exactly,
the low vibration.
like exactly. And I feel like there's so much of us as humans that are, you're exactly what you're saying. I'm on the other side of all that too, and I feel like our human parts, all of it has a purpose. Even our egos, even our fear, all of it does have a purpose. All of it's teaching us something. So it's not like it's just, how do you want your life to unfold? What is that for you? What does that look like for your individual journey? And anyway, that's all I have to say about that. People already know where I'm coming from, I think, at this point. But
well, it sounds to me what you're talking about, Elle, is something that I've been working with lately, and what Mr. December seems to be mentioning in the comment here is that at a certain point, we have to accept who we are and where we came from, and the limitations that presents for us. And like for me, I had the childhood that I had, which set me up with a slew of limitations as far as how much I was going to have the energy and the health to achieve in my life. And the thing is, our society is set up on this assumption, and we're fed this line that if you just work hard enough, try hard enough, you can get to the top of the heap as well. But that's another ascension narrative that says everybody can have everything. And it's just not true. And it's not sustainable for everyone to keep striving to have everything, to consume everything, and to have, all of the wealth and all of the this and all of the that. Yeah. And so for me, learning to accept the fact that I have the limitations that I have in my biology, in my health, in my genetics, in my emotional health, my psychology, all of that. I devoted my all of the energy of my adult life, like my generative energy, to that, to learning ways to heal a lot. And there's a lot of stuff that we don't know how to heal. We don't know how to heal generational trauma. If anybody tells you, buy my $10,000 program and you're going to be free of your generational trauma, I say, run the other way. They don't know how to do it. Nobody knows how to do it unless you have $10,000 to spend on an experimental program.
Yeah.
It's all experimental. We don't know how to do it. And that's the other thing that I'm imagining in my fiction fractals is, what will it look like when we do figure out how to do it? There's a lot of things that we know how to heal now that we didn't know how to heal 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. Right?
That's why I say things to my husband all the time when he's like, he's going off about scientific stuff and I'm just listening. And then he'll ask me like, well, what do you believe? And I go, well, I believe this. Whatever we believe is true now is probably going to get laughed at in 2,000 years from now.
Right.
So I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I'm creating my own worlds over here. And I might as well just believe in my own worlds as much as, if dinosaurs existed or if the earth is flat or round or whatever we believe in now, what's the truth going to be 2,000 years from now? It's like, it's not going to be what it is now. Like what, anyway, there was something else I wanted to piggyback on what you were saying. And that was going back to that fear-based life, is I've heard people saying all the time how the world's gotten mean and sour and it's just such a rotten place out there. And everywhere I go, I focus on all the beautiful human kindness that I see, which I see in abundance everywhere. I go to the store and there's like a checker and she's like, hey, how are you today? And so because I don't carry that lens, everywhere I go, I just see beautiful human experiences. All of my clients that I get the most beautiful clients that bless my life. I was down at Caesar's Palace the other day doing a photo shoot, and as I was leaving, people some guys were jumping out of the casino, giving me a high five, like smiling at me. Like, the human interactions that I get are incredibly rich and beautiful. And it's because there's not a fraction inside of me who believes that the human spirit is mean at all. When you go and look at humans, even like the ones that seem kind of rotten, they're always doing something kind for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You call them a narcissist, but then they have a nice conversation with somebody and say, have a nice compliment with, like, there's literally more kindness going on the earth at any given time than there is dark, evil, bad. So do the math.
Right.
I was modeling in Vegas. No, I'm not the model. I'm behind the camera. I'm behind the camera. I got some nice camera equipment. That's really how I make my living, is photography. Oh, and nice. And it's nice. It served me well. We don't other people do ask all the time, how do you have the time to do this? We don't have car payments. I drive an old 20-year-old Honda Element. I don't use credit cards. Kind of keep like our house is very humble. We have a low overhead, I would say. So I can, do some photo shoots, bank some money, and then spend weeks on end writing. And that's, I like that life. What the life before, where I was just trying to like grind and work and become this millionaire and this is what I need to do, was just taking from me. But now a life that's more simple to maintain is giving to me what I really want. So it's another way of creating abundance in your life, is like scaling back, and creating that space for yourself. And another thing, I never would have gotten this far had I not made those connections with Mother Earth and Divine Feminine. So
yeah, like my husband and I, we bought, our house is 520 square feet, which is like a double tiny house kind of thing. And so it's surrounded by all these fruit trees, right? So that was a choice to have that kind of simplicity And then we have all those old cars too, right? So that's how. But then we also decided we wanted to be in service to our local community, and so that's why I went back to school to become a physical therapy assistant. I could bring all those years of experience as a massage therapist and as a yoga instructor to an environment where, these people wouldn't pay for a massage, but Medicare and Medi-Cal pays for me to go in, and actually I often massage people to help their muscles relax and reorganize, and their nervous system to relax and reorganize, and it pays me to do like sensory integration stuff, like with pretty
That's
light,
really beautiful. No, that's absolutely
a
beautiful.
heating pad, and like all the things I did
I
as a
love
massage
that.
therapist, right? Heating pads, nice lighting, nice music, all these things
I
helps people
love
like
that.
relax and be able to have a better experience and potentially participate in exercises to get stronger. But often I'm just like helping them have a less painful, difficult experience at the end of their life too. So I get to be in service to people and bring all of that healing work that I've done for myself to reduce a little bit of people's suffering, and also help them get back on their feet. Um, you
And
know,
it's beautiful. And again, I meet so many people like you, Jessica. I meet people who are out in the world and just like grounded and providing a beautiful service for other people. And I think about the people on the other side, like, wow, this angel just showed up today and I was in so much pain, and she put her hands on me and she just took a moment and she just breathed with me and she just released that pain. And wow, this, like, people will see you as an angel coming in and doing it. It's
not everyone else,
yeah, well, no,
not everyone. I mean,
I know.
there's, but the thing is, I've gotten to learn that the people who are, if you choose to complain all the time and think about how awful everything is, that's going to be your experience. If you see that everyone is helping you and supporting you and is an angel and like this, and I coach people through that transition, and that's when they start doing better. A lot of times people come in and they're complaining, it's awful, this thing that happened to them, they fell, they hurt their hip, they had surgery, the medical system sucks, this and that and this and that. And I've had to get my bossy voice on, and I can do it. Okay. Especially with these old grouchy guys, right? That are going to tell me how it is. And I get my bossy voice on and I say, look, you're going to sit there. You can sit there and complain, and that's what you're going to get. And it's not going to help you. And especially if you talk mean to me and the other people that are here trying to help you, it's not going to help you. This is not helping you. What works for me is I try to look at what the beneficial things that are coming my direction are, appreciate and augment those with appreciation. And that's what's going to get you better. That's what's going to help you to heal. You can focus on all these other things, or you can focus on what's going to successfully get you up and walking again and out of here. It's up to you.
And we need that too. I think that's another part of mature feminine energy, is a way to set some boundaries, as a way to be a queen in a court. Like, there's certain energies that come in and they want to take over, they want to bring you down, they want to come in and play the victim and just shit all over the room. And me, when you are strong and rooted, and there's a way to gently and anyway, there's a way to gently kind of set the tone, just like you said. There's a way to step into the room with your voice. I used to call it the mother bear voice. Like, all of you have probably have a few experiences in life where you've seen a woman, a mother probably, who's like 5 foot nothing, and somebody touches her child, and there's just some way that she comes in with an authoritative voice.
That's right.
A protective, authoritative voice, which completely makes the whole room go still.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody stops. And some people feel like they want to shit themselves. It's scary. It's something that is very authoritative, and women have that natural ability to come in and straighten up energies right away. And it's been so it's a gift. It's considerably a gift, because you can have someone who can come in, and if you don't have that counter energy, then someone can come in and just shit all over the room and bring it down and have everybody feeling crappy and,
Yeah.
they just, it's almost viral in a way, like this viral energy. And so, yeah, that's another beautiful thing that we didn't even talk about, was just how you learn how to set boundaries to protect your own energy, to protect other people's energy as well.
Yeah.
So
that's really important. When I was starting out as a PTA at the nursing home, okay, I had all this background of, the massage therapy and the trauma awareness, trauma. In fact, my first week in school, they were doing stuff in the school, and I was like, excuse me, we need to implement trauma informed care here, because I was noticing, they're having young people straight out of high school touching each other's inner thighs without any preamble, and there's kids and there was like 3 or 4 of them that I could have identified as still probably undergoing some kind of sexual trauma, and they were, shutting down. I could feel it, in their bodies, when I would interact with them and see it in their whole demeanor. And I was like, excuse me. And they had to create a whole new, I helped them, the head of the program, create a whole trauma informed care module in the, and they implemented stuff around consent and all this stuff. So I came into the nursing home, right?
Huge.
Which helps me a lot. But with the people that are in the nursing home that I have to treat, I can't say no. I've got to treat them. The people that their main coping mechanism is to traumatize others, I still have to treat them. So I had to get big and bossy with them and not let them run their number on me, trying to traumatize me, to manipulate and control me. And I was like fantasizing that, gosh, maybe I could be a dominatrix.
Right.
I really
I have in my past. I've done it before, and it was something that I swore that I said the same thing. I was like, I should teach women how to do this, because sometimes you have to teach up here,
right?
In order for it to integrate where it's more normal, and definitely the dominatrix is the absolute extreme of it. But I found that even in the doing dominatrix work, which didn't do it as work, it was lifestyle for me. It wasn't like I'm charging or anything. It was a period of my life where that was lifestyle. And man, so many men really appreciated it. Like they appreciated it. Like it brought healing into their lives. Like they needed to bow down to the goddess. Like they needed that.
Yep.
They crave it so bad.
Yeah. And like in the situation that I was in, as the, physical therapy assistant in the nursing home, me standing up to them and saying, no, you cannot talk to me this way. I am your portal out of here. You have to treat me with respect if you want what you say you want. End of story. And you have to treat the other people in the room with respect while I'm here. End of story. That's it. If you want,
they're thinking about you later, touching themselves.
No, Elle, they did not do that. They did not do that, Elle.
Sorry,
no writing.
I had to get unhinged.
No writing Warden stories about me in the nursing home. Okay, I do not consent.
Okay.
I saw where you're going with that. Oh my
Everybody, God. I know. I've been so well behaved. This entire hour, I've been so well behaved. I respect Jessica so much, and I had to get a little unhinged. But yeah,
you did. No.
I
know. We can have the whatever you call it, the other version of this talk another time.
Yeah. Well, to bring it back to Mother Earth, she started all of it. Couple things. There was one other big transmission I got from that meditation that I talked about in the beginning. It was about crystals specifically. She said, every form of life that I create is sacred to me. Y'all mean something beautiful to me. And whenever you pass, even if it's an unborn child, because this was a meditation that I had did after a miscarriage and was in a period of grief that was very debilitating. All forms of life are stored. She stores that soul essence, that like essence of that life. It's kind of like think of a USB drive being a crystal, and that being your life memory. So because Mother Earth is just loaded with crystals, just loaded. I mean, we will never dig to the bottom of that hole, and every single one is stored memory of a life. She keeps it there. She hugs it. It's part of her physical being. It's one of the most beautiful things I got out of that transmission when I made that connection. Knowing that. Well, which is why some of us feel connected to certain crystals. Certain crystals like called you. Maybe it was a past life. Maybe it was, Uncle John or Aunt Susan or something, like.
Well, that's why in my stories it's the mycelial crystal network. So the mycelium and the crystals both, have this network through all the planet, and that's where all the memories are. That's where all the intelligence is. It's electrical. It flows with electricity, and they like one of the stories that I'm starting to write that's in present day Earth is the original people that are being influenced by the mycelial crystal network and are trying to influence humanity too. But it's this funky old lady that lives in a cave in the mountain near where I live in my story, right? And her feet get all fungally and she starts growing roots out of her feet, right? And people think she's just this weird, crazy lady with really bad fungal feet. And she walks into town with like mushrooms and crystals in a jar with a cloth over it. And she's shaking this dust and trying to get people to breathe it. And they think she's this crazy lady, but she's really trying she's trying to influence their brains and increase the size of their amygdala so they can have more empathy and evolve in this way to be more connected to the earth. And the roots in her feet are helping her to connect with Mother Earth and like this. And it's giving her, she lives forever now. She's the first evolved person.
Oh my goodness. So you know what, that I gotta ask you then, because you've told me enough about your book to have me really sucked in and interested. This is absolutely, you've captured me, really. I want to know, are you serializing and posting on here, or are you putting a manuscript together to publish? What's your plans with your stories and writing?
Well, all of the above. So I'm fractalizing, okay, not serializing, because don't make me go in a line where one thing happens first and then the next thing happens after that. Just don't make me, okay? It's not going to happen,
okay? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it's a tree, okay? There's the trunk of the tree. It's okay. Anyway, so right now on Substack and in World Anvil, okay, I started doing the world building I told you about. I think I messed
I know I need to get on there and do that too.
So World Anvil is really great for world building, but I'm doing it as an immersive storytelling thing instead of just all the info dumping, although I did create a mechanic where I can do a little info dumping on the side, but it's you get this Eltarian field guide, and if you ever have any questions on your journey through Eltaria, you can look it up in the Eltarian field guide, and it shows up in the sidebar. And add comments. You can add your questions in the comments, and I'll add things in the sidebar if you need more of an info dumping than you're getting from the immersive storytelling, right? So I've been doing a lot of prompt writing over on World Anvil because they have these great challenges and they have this summer camp one where I'm doing all these prompts. They also have a manuscript writing part of their program over there, which I'm going to start putting my manuscripts that I've started writing. I have 9 chapters of one book, and I have ideas for several other books, but I'm going to frame them as I'm going to come up with fictional authors in the world of Eltaria that are writing biographies of various famous people in the world, and that you can get access to these living books in the world, which are going to be the manuscripts in World Anvil, where you can read the biography of the famous person as the author is writing it.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
So when I was reading about your trying to edit this book, that sounds like hell to me.
It is. It is absolute hell.
And so
You guys, I want you to meet my husband really quick. Come here.
okay.
Just give me a kiss on the cheek and say hi.
Okay.
He's having a day off and he hates all of this. He hates this. Come here, just say hi. Just kiss me on the cheek so they can see you really quickly. Here's my husband.
Hi.
That's all you get. That's all you get.
Yeah,
he won't give you anymore.
Yeah.
But
anyway, so that's where my books will be, but I'm also taking the pieces that I've been putting in World Anvil from these prompts that I'm getting on World Anvil for the world building. I'm putting them into some semblance of a fractal sequence on Substack. So you can start with I have a pinned guide on my Substack that gives you an outline of all the pieces, and that's where the choose your own adventure, it happens a little bit. I'm going to do more of the choose your own adventure on World Anvil as well. In fact, there's more capability for that because I can do spoiler cover-ups, so I can like cover up certain portions of the text, and you only get to see that part if you roll the right number on the die, kind of thing. So there'll be dice rolling, kind of like D&D, playing D&D as part of the story. So on Substack, though, you just have to roll the dice and decide whether you succeed or fail, and then decide which way your part of the story goes and like that.
I'm going to have to learn about World Anvil. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I like the way you're building it. Of course, yeah, I committed myself to a very large, what's going to be a multiple book series.
Yeah.
Once I get into the work, the characters kind of hold me hostage.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, I've been listening to I've been reading some of your stories, and I'm getting kind of hostaged by some of your characters too. So I get it.
Yeah, I get. Yeah. In fact, I got done with my second pass, which it was absolutely grueling. It really was. But at the same time, there's kind of an enjoyable part there because I'm the characters, I'm in this story. And then I have about 2 days where I feel really depressed because I'm not with the story. And you would think, oh God, finally I get some air to breathe and I can relax. And really, I catch myself scrolling through my phone on the pictures that I've made of my characters and like kind of longing for them again.
I love it.
It's totally unhinged and chaotic and crazy, but yeah, here we are. I really want to learn more about the World Anvil, and I'm definitely interested in your stories. As you drop them in, let me know. I'll be sharing them as well. And
I'm thinking of doing a Substack live series where because World Anvil gives permission to its members to live stream your World Anvil process. So they have full permission for me. I have full permission to live stream my process, and share the screen of how I'm doing things on World Anvil.
Yeah, I would totally tune into that because you could teach me how to use it.
Yeah. It's a little tricky. In fact, I've had to learn how to write code a little bit to do certain functions. Yeah. And there's a code writing. It's not that hard. And you can like for example, that cover up of like the spoiler cover up thing. It doesn't really work with the non-code writing interface, but if you go into the code writing interface, it's pretty simple. You just put spoiler in there between brackets at the beginning, blah blah blah. It's not as hard as it sounds. But then you're writing code and you're like, woo, I'm a little tech wizard over here.
Yeah, there's one thing I haven't written. People are like, wow, you write a lot of different stuff. Well, I haven't written code.
Well, get on World Anvil and they'll be having you write code before you know it.
Let me know. Literally, let me know when you have. In fact, and I'd be happy to join you too on a live too, and actually be interfacing with it and learning alongside of your teaching. Right. But that's something that I could probably get a couple dozen writers right now who are in the community who would jump on something like that and have a second place for their worlds to live and be organized. Rather than Substack doesn't really have the best organization for fictional writers for fantasy writers, especially who have lore and culture and maps and all kinds
Right.
of.
Well, that's why I kind of have Substack as a lead in to go join me on World Anvil if you want it. So I have lots more on World Anvil that's already up, and it's actually not as organized as it is on Substack, because you do have to, like, I had to put an outline and say, this is where you go from point A to point B. If you chose this option, go down this part of the outline. If you chose this option, go down this part of the outline. So I had to organize it on Substack. Otherwise, it would just be a mishmash. Whereas on World Anvil, you can not be as organized. You can just pop in here and pop in there, and people are expecting that on a world building platform. But I think I'm going to start organizing it, saying, if you choose this, go to this new link, that go to this is your next article, or if you choose this is your next article. So I'm going to organize it there as well. But there's more on World Anvil than on Substack. So I have that in my Substack articles. I say at the end, you get the full Eltarian field guide if you go to World Anvil. I'm not putting all of the lore dumping and the info dumping on the Substack articles. So if you're like curious about this and you want to learn more about it, come on over to World Anvil. So it's a great lead in to World Anvil. And I've heard that authors that have a following on World Anvil get offers of traditional publishing, because traditional publishers really value what is going on World Anvil, and the same is probably true for Substack as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hugely interested in that. I think after you told me about it, I opened it up and I looked at it. I did at least that. I went to the website and looked at it, and then I was like, right now I just do not have the energetic capacity to start it, because of course I was right in the middle of second pass on a 250,000 word book.
Yeah. Just think of it this way. On World Anvil, you can upload all your pictures of all of your characters, and you can write pages and pages and pages just about them. It doesn't have to be enmeshed in the story.
See, and I love that.
I have
3 Bibles written just on my own political system, and I love it. I actually really love it.
And they have like community events throughout the year. Like, I'm participating in one called Summer Camp right now, and I have to go on. There's like 10 new prompts today. There was 10 prompts every week for the last 3 weeks, and today's the last week. And actually, the way they do their prizes, because they're kind of like competitions, the participants volunteer. I volunteered to offer a prize. So I created an online service called Writer's Best Friend, and it'll be whoever I choose, because I'm the judge for who wins my prize on World Anvil. And so I'm up there as the sponsor for this prompt, whatever prompt it is. I have yet to find out what prompt I'm the sponsor for, and my prize is right there, what the person's going to win. I get to read all the entries for that prompt and decide who the winner is and give them my prize, which is I'm going to be their writer's best friend for a month. They're going to send me their writings. I'm going to read it. I'm going to give them praise, and it's not critique in any way. It's just praising their writing, praising their process, holding their hand, supporting whatever they're going through as a writer. And so
we need that.
I know, that's what I want. I want somebody to hold my hand through the writing process and praise me and tell me I'm doing a great job.
I want a writing dominatrix. I actually want.
You want a writing dominatrix?
I do. I'm so
okay. How about this? You be my writer's best friend. I'll be your writing dominatrix. Okay, we can have a deal.
I do. I need someone to go through my manuscript and be like, no, this needs to be better, and that needs to be better, and this needs to be better, and that needs to be better, and then I could go, okay. Like I probably wouldn't be butthurt from it. I would really be discerning about it, and think,
I'm not. It's not me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I know.
I made that offer. Okay. It sounded fun at first, but
no, that's all right. I got a really good friend who's been editing romance novels for over 20 years.
Oh, maybe they're that person.
We shop at Sam's Club every week together, and we went out for tacos the other day, and I said, I know I can't afford you to edit my book. She charges $10,000 a book.
Wow.
And I said, but you know what? Would you mind just being a beta reader and just tearing it apart? And she's like, yeah, but what about your feelings? And I said, we're just not going to worry about my feelings. I want you to purposely hurt my feelings. She was like, are you sure? And I said, yeah, you've read a million romance novels. I want your opinion. Anyway, you guys, thanks so much for joining. Jessica, this was so fun. I enjoyed this conversation so much. Thanks for coming on. You guys go smash that subscribe button for Jessica. I'm gonna have you on here again. We should probably do this more often. I'm so glad we got connected finally after all these years. You're amazing. Thank you.
I want to have you on Ecology of a Writer, where, but because the World Anvil thing is going to be sort of a separate thread on Ecology of a Writer, but that's going to be my podcast name, is Ecology of a Writer, and we can talk about
I'd love to anytime.
Decide.
I would love to anytime. Okay. So December, the beeping noise. I wanted to answer your question. I have one of those vibrating boards that you get on TikTok. I keep it under my desk, and I'm barefoot, and I'm always tapping and moving my body. Even when I'm sitting here, I run the board, but it makes kind of a lot of noise. Sometimes my toes run over the buttons, and it makes the beeping sound. So it's just, that's all. He asked that question a long time ago, but you guys, thanks so much for joining us. Send us your questions if you guys want to join me on the podcast. Writer's Gone Feral, let me know. And hey, have a great weekend. Tomorrow's my birthday. So all you're going to see from me is some birthday celebrations tomorrow, and I'm basically going to be MIA. Me and my editor best friend are going to go get Dutch Brothers and go to some bookstores and spend obscene amount of monies on beautiful books that I probably won't read for another year or so because I'm so busy writing, but it'll add to my beautiful TBR book collection. So I love you guys so much. Mwah. Thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for having me on here.
All right, take care. Have a good weekend, you guys. Bye.
Bye.